Hello and welcome to Raus IAS. This is the Daily News Simplified for the date 8 April 2024. And for our today's session, we have picked up 8 important articles from the Hindu, Indian Express and the Hindu Business Line. And so for the main discussion, we will be seeing these two articles, which are India's Path to Inclusive Healthcare. And the second article would be Fiscal Discipline and FRBM Act. For prelims pointers, for prelims discussion, we will see these 6 topics which are displayed over your screen. So before we begin our session, if you like our video, give us a thumbs up. And if you have any doubt, you can ask us in the comment section of our YouTube video, right? So now let's begin our discussion. Starting with the first article for today, and this article appeared at multiple sections of the Hindu. It appeared on the page number 6 and page number 7. So yesterday on 7th April is celebrated as World Health Day. So this time the theme of World Health Day 2024 was My Health, My Right. And the World Health Organization, it recognizes the right to health as a human right. So in this context, we will see that is there a right to health in India, and we will see various aspects of inclusive health in the country, right? And now this topic is important for us for our GS paper 2 social justice. Under the syllabus head, issues related to development and management of social sector or services related to health, education and human resources. Now, if we see the importance of this topic, we can see that in all these years, we found these questions which were based on directly on this topic of health in the mains examination. Now, even if you analyze these PYQs, you will find a connective theme. There is a wide theme. You can see like in the year 2021, we found a question which said, besides being a moral imperative of a welfare state, primary health structure is a necessary precondition for sustainable development. So in this, we get a hint that, see, there is a moral imperative for India, which is a welfare state, to strengthen or to provide primary health structure. So we got various keywords. In the same way, we have other keywords like maternal health care and other keywords like India have lowest indicators of human development, and one indicator is health also, and health for all approach. So even if you revise these PYQs, you get a vast range of information regarding these topics. Let's start our discussion with this topic like health. So what is health in general? Health does not only mean absence of any disease. Rather, it also means the presence of physical health, that is physical well-being, the presence of physical well-being, social well-being, emotional and mental well-being, right? So this is the wide definition of health and mental well-being. So as per the Sustainable Development Goal and as India is adherent to these targets, India aims to achieve universal health care to its citizens, to all its citizens by the year 2030. And now when we talk about universal health care, what do we mean by it? Universal health care, as its name implies, universal. That means there should be a universal access to healthcare to all the citizens of the country, irrespective of their socio-economic conditions, their gender, and any other conditions, right? And this healthcare which is being given to them, it should be of standard quality, right? Also, this healthcare, this should not put a dent on their pockets. That is, it should be affordable. Only then we can say that the citizens of the country are getting universal health care, right? So now let's come to the question that is there a right to health in India? Now, right to health is not explicitly mentioned in Indian Constitution, but through various cases in the Supreme Court of India, it has been established that right to health is an integral part of right to life under Article 21 of Indian Constitution. Article 21 is a fundamental right to life, and under it, there is an inherent right to health, which also includes right to mental health. Apart from which, as we saw in the question also, that it is the moral imperative of a welfare state. So what is the moral imperative? Through these DPSPs. What are the DPSPs? Through Article 39 of Indian Constitution, which basically talks about economic welfare of citizens. But Article 39 Clause E, it talks that the state, it directs the state to secure the health of its workers. And then there is Article 42 of Indian Constitution, which talks about just and humane conditions in work. Plus it also talks about maternity relief, that is maternal health. And then we have Article 47 of Indian Constitution, which directs the state to improve the nutritional levels in the country, nutritional levels to improve the standard of living in the country and to improve the public health. So this is the moral imperative which the welfare state has. And even as we know that state as health is a state subject. So there is Article 243G, which even gives an imperative to the panchayats and municipalities to strengthen their public healthcare systems, right? So this is about right to health. And now let's see that now this we are talking about health, and there are two preconditions to achieve universal health care. First thing is, if we increase the public spending, right? That is, if government spends on healthcare, providing healthcare to the people, that is first thing which the government should do, increasing public healthcare spending. Or the second thing is to achieve universal healthcare. Second thing is to reduce the out-of-pocket expenditure of the citizens of the country, right? So with regards to these two verticals, let's see some indicators. Now, as per the National Health Accounts estimate for India, which was released in the financial year 2020, it said that the total health expenditure of India is estimated to be around 3.3% of India's GDP, right? And of this 3.3% of India's GDP, let's see that what is the share which government spends. So the government spends about 1.3% of this share. And if we see this chart, we see that from the financial year 2015 to the financial year 2020, this government spending on healthcare has increased. And we can see that presently in the year 2020, the spending of the government was 1.35 of India's GDP, which has increased. But still we are far behind the number 2.5% of GDP. So this was the number, this is a number which is the target of National Health Policy of India released in 2017. So as per this National Health Policy, we should ideally spend around 2.5% of India's GDP on healthcare, but still we are spending 1.35% of our GDP, right? So these are the status. And now see, if the government, we can see in this chart shows that this orange color line shows out of pocket expenditure, which the citizens do from their own pocket, right? So we have seen that if we see this chart from financial year 2015 to financial year 2020, this out of pocket expenditure for Indian citizens, these have decreased. And see this trend, when the public spending on health increases, this chart in blue color, this line in blue color, see, when this public spending on healthcare is increasing, this out of pocket expenditure on healthcare is decreasing. So there is a direct correlation between increasing government budget on healthcare to decreasing out of pocket expenditure, right? So presently in the year 2020, we see that the public spending, that is the government healthcare spending, it is 14.4% of this total expenditure, and rather 47% is out of pocket expenditure. So we can conclude that still out of pocket expenditure is predominant over government spending, right? So in these two verticals, either we have to increase government budget or either we have to reduce out of pocket expenditure. And for this, to provide universal health care or to improve the health infrastructure, there are certain important schemes by the government. First of which is National Health Mission. This was launched by the government, by the Ministry of Family and Healthcare. So this was a scheme which was launched in the year 2013. So earlier there was National Rural Health Mission, and which was launched in the year 2005, and then government launched National Urban Health Mission in the year 2013, and these two missions were subsumed to form National Health Mission, to launch a comprehensive National Health Mission in the year 2013. So what are the main verticals of National Health Mission? The first thing is obviously to improve or to strengthen existing health infrastructure. This means the primary healthcare institutions, which are the first line of contact between the patients and the healthcare facilities. So strengthening this primary healthcare system. Other thing is it sets certain targets. For example, to reduce the total fertility rate. There were some examples to reduce infant mortality rate, to reduce infant mortality rate, to reduce maternal mortality rate, to reduce death or fatalities due to rising NCDs, non-communicable diseases and communicable diseases, reduce incidences of TB, leprosy, among others. So these were some of the targets which the government had set under this mission, right? And one another thing is, for this vertical, that is to reduce out-of-pocket expenditure, we have seen Jan Arogya Yojana, Ayushman Bharat Jan Arogya Yojana. So this is the biggest healthcare insurance scheme of the world, and this scheme government has launched it to provide healthcare insurance benefits to vulnerable population of India. Basically, it covers 12 crore families, vulnerable families of India, which is around 50 crore people. That is 50 crore of people are insured under Ayushman Bharat Jan Arogya Yojana, and under this they are given rupees 5 lakh cover per family per year for secondary as well as tertiary healthcare, right? So these are some of the important initiatives which government has taken in the recent times. But now, having seen this, let's see some important indicators. You can see in the National Family Health Survey, the latest National Family Health Survey, which was released in the year 2021, we saw that by all these initiatives and other initiatives also, the total fertility rate of the country, it is 2, and it has declined from 2.2 earlier, and it is even below the replacement level fertility rate. And the child nutrition, the stunting has been declined marginally. Still 36% of Indian children below the age of 5 years are stunted. So this is an alarming number. Obesity in the country has increased, though there is an increase in institutional birth rate, but also there is an increase in cesarean deliveries, right? The sex ratio has been improved. It is now 1020, and sex ratio at birth, this has also improved. So these are some of the findings of National Family Health Survey, which shows that some of the improvements which after the government initiatives. But still, to achieve inclusive health, there are certain challenges or bottlenecks. Let's see what are these bottlenecks. First thing is India's health equity challenge. Now, if we say health equity, this means that every citizen of India, irrespective of its socio-economic condition, irrespective of their gender, caste, or any other condition, they should reach their highest health potential. But in this regards, India faces certain disparity. For example, there are certain sections like women. Now, they don't have health equity. As we can see that women, out of this data, 57% of women of reproductive age, they are still anemic. And if we say that out of this women of vulnerable group, that is women belonging to the SC and ST category, they face high child mortality, plus they have lower immunization rate. So these are certain kind of disparities which the vulnerable sections are facing still. And also urban poor. As per a survey, around 17% of urban population, they lives in slum. So they are vulnerable to various diseases, various healthcare diseases due to lack of sanitation, clean drinking water and other things. And further, India's migration rate, it is increasing. And as per an estimate, there are around 1.4 crore people who are migrants. So, and they are living in, and majority of them, and 50% of them are living in slums. So with regards to it, they are facing these urban poor. they are at disadvantage as compared to other population, other sections of Indian population. The second thing is quality healthcare. Now, merely the presence of healthcare and wellness centers is not enough. They should provide quality healthcare. And for this, we can see that there is a limited healthcare infrastructure, especially in rural areas and remote areas, where we can see that there is even shortage of drugs, essential medicines, drugs, shortage of equipment, shortage of doctors. Even if in India, if we see that WHO has recommended a ratio of 1 doctor per 1,000 population, but in India, this ratio is presently 0.8 per 1,000 population, and which is low. So there is a shortage of infrastructure, human as well as physical infrastructure. And then adding to it, India is there is a rising non-communicable diseases in India, as we have seen that India hosts one of the largest burden of diseases like cancer, like diabetes, and these all diseases are due to the changes in lifestyle and various other environmental factors apart from genetic factors. So India is suffering from rising non-communicable diseases, and this is also one of the challenge in order to provide inclusive healthcare to the population of the country. Also, now see, one mode is public expenditure, via public expenditure, or via public infrastructure. The other mode to provide inclusive healthcare is via private institutions or private healthcare. So one advantage of private healthcare system is that even in some areas where government infrastructure is missing, we can find the presence of private healthcare there, right? So, but there are certain limitations of these private healthcare. Now let's see what are these limitations. First of all, because they provide, in some cases, in most of the cases, they provide high quality healthcare. So there may be issues of affordability, especially to these vulnerable population or lower income informal sector of India who gets lower income. So for them, there may be expenses, there may be enormous out of pocket expenditure to these people. Also, we have seen that in certain private institutions, the prices of essential medicines, they are not capped, they are too high, right? And the rates are not standardized. Even the rates of different tests, they vary from hospital, from different private hospital to from one private hospital to another private hospital. So there is an issue of standardization of rates of different procedures. Also, in India, if we talk about healthcare sector, we majorly focus on our physical health, but less focus or less emphasis is given on mental health. And mental health care is equally important to physical well-being. And so in India, we have seen that one of the largest suicide cases, they are prevalent in India. So as per the latest report by NCRB, around 12 people out of 1 lakh population of India, they are presently committing suicides. And apart from this, there is a high number, around 14% of Indian population. There was a report in 2017 which said that around 14% of Indian population, they are suffering from various mental disorders. They can include depression, anxiety disorders, among others, right? And often of which go undiagnosed and uncured. And adding to this, obviously there is a risk of any future pandemic, for example like COVID-19 pandemic, and this will hit the vulnerable sections more. That's why there is a need of inclusive healthcare system. Also, because of climate change, certain non-communicable diseases and certain diseases like malaria, these are diseases, they will increase, their prevalence will increase, and to counter it, we need inclusive healthcare systems. So what is the way forward? The way forward is to increase the government budget, which we also saw that as per the National Healthcare Policy of 2017, government intends to spend 2.5% of its GDP. So there should be increase in this budget, increase in the release for healthcare sector. Plus, the public healthcare system, the infrastructure for it should be strengthened. Because we all know that this infrastructure, this should be strengthened for both preventive as well as curative healthcare. Now, if we talk about preventive healthcare, this can be that there should be various vaccination drives. There can be various surveillance camps. free camps, surveillance camps, in order to provide for preventive healthcare, and also the facilities for curative healthcare, the infrastructure for it should be improved, right? A high quality infrastructure should be there. Second thing is by regulation of private sector. So there should be certain kind of regulations in private sector to set, for example, the rate of the test may be standardized. There should be certain caps on the prices of essential drugs. Other thing is, in order to provide for inclusive healthcare, government has to address various socio-economic determinants of health. So we all know that there is a interrelation between poverty, low education, and lack of employment, right? And healthcare, deterioration of healthcare. So when all these verticals are interlinked, they are being they would be addressed as a they would be addressed holistically. Then we can see that by addressing these socio-economic determinants of health, we can provide inclusive healthcare to the people of India. So other thing could be early detection. For this technology, the help of technology could be taken. For example, we can utilize artificial intelligence for early diagnosis of certain diseases, and also there are various other small scale innovations. For example, fitness bands. These are also technologies which can aid in monitoring of health vitals, and their early diagnosis, right? And this can help in prevention of early detection and cure of non-communicable disease, as well as improvement of mental health, among others, right? So this all is necessary in order to provide universal healthcare, inclusive healthcare, and to achieve the goal of United Nations Sustainable Development Goal by the year 2030, right? So this is all about inclusive health. And now with this, let's move on to our next mains article for the day, which is inspired by this news article which appeared on the page number 12 of The Hindu. Now in this article, Mr. N.K. Singh, who is the chief of 15th Finance Commission, he talks about the need for market discipline for fiscal accountability. He says that there should be certain kind of market discipline in order to ensure fiscal accountability or to promote fiscal accountability. Now in this article, we have certain keywords. These are fiscal discipline, fiscal accountability. So we are going to see that what do we mean by fiscal discipline? Do we have any laws in India, any act in India which deals about fiscal discipline, and what are the challenges in this regard? This topic is important for us for our GS paper 3 economy under the syllabus head government budgeting and mobilization of resources. And in this theme, we saw this question in the year 2019, and we have other questions also. So now let's move forward and let's see that what is this theme all about. Now, first of all, if we talk about fiscal discipline, right? So what does this mean? What is the meaning of this term? This means that, government, central government, or government in general, that is central government as well as state government deals with public funds. It has public funds, right? And government needs to spend, government needs to do expenditure, and government has, for that expenditure, government needs some revenue, right? So if there is an imbalance in the way government spends to the funds which the government gets, then there would be fiscal deficit. Fiscal deficit occurs when the expenditure of the government is way more than the revenue of the government, right? This is one thing, when the expenditure of the government is more. So when the expenditure of the government increases multifolds in the way that the debt which the government accumulates, if it rises unsustainably, that is, if government accumulates a vast amount of debt, then we can say that this unsustainable debt means there is a fiscal indiscipline in the government. So what is fiscal discipline? Fiscal discipline means responsible management of public funds so that there is no unsustainable debt, right? Opposite of which is fiscal indiscipline, right? Now let's see that what is the need for fiscal discipline. So what is the need for it? First of all, if the government does not incorporate fiscal discipline, there would be the creation of intergenerational inequity. Now, what does this mean? Intergenerational equity, this means legacy debt. That is, when government borrows recklessly from the market or from some other sources, this debt government is not able to pay, and it accumulates over decades and maybe over generation, and then the future taxpayers, they they are overburdened in paying the interest rate for the debt which government has taken, right? That is the debt on government. There is a legacy debt for which interest rate and obviously debt amount also it has to be paid, and the future taxpayers, they are burdened with the debt which government once took, right? So this is known as creation of intergenerational inequity. This is the first thing. And then obviously these taxpayers, these are burdened by higher tax rate in order to pay these debt. There are highest interest rate, there are high interest rate in the market plus high tax rate on the taxpayers. So it is a kind of penalizing these taxpayers. The second thing is interest rate burden. We know that if government has taken debt, and when government, and that debt is unpaid, and when government wants to borrow again, in that case the interest rate would be more as compared to the debt in first instant. So multiple borrowing, by borrowing multiple times, the interest rate on subsequent borrowing, it increases, right? So this translates to high interest rate burden on governments, central or maybe state governments, right? And because of which, what happens? Because of which it reduces government funds, the funds government has for expenditure. For example, in financial year 2022, the total amount which government paid on interest payment, it was around 20% of central government's total expenditure. That is, out of its total expenditure, government paid 20% amount merely in paying the interest rate. Now because of this, what happens? Because of which government is left with less pool of resources to spend in revenue expenditure or to spend in, say for example, welfare schemes. Government has now less budget to spend in government scheme, say for healthcare, for education, and for some other things, right? The third thing is the cost of fresh borrowings will increase. We all know this. Because of this, because the credibility of the government in the market would be low. That's why when the government will go out to take a second loan, another loan, then the cost of fresh borrowing in the market would increase. And also this will crowd out private investors. Now see, in the market there are, if government is sucking out available funds from the market, then the private sector, it is left with a small amount of this available pool. That is, small amount of available pool is available for private investors. That's why from this available amount, they will have to pay high interest rate, because major chunk of it has been taken by government, and now for the remaining amount, these private investors, they have to pay high interest rate in order to get those loans. And now what is the impact of this on us? Impact is that this will cause inflation. How? Because if any investor is taking loan at higher interest rate, this will translate to higher cost in manufacturing processes, and this will translate to higher cost price for consumers, right? And ultimately this will lead to inflation. Finally, there would be capital flight. Capital flight means that the credibility of the financial market of any country, it decreases. Then the capital in the form of investment, say foreign portfolio investment or say foreign direct investment. So these kind of investment, they would be pulled out from the government as the markets, they become highly unstable, or the investors' confidence from the market, it comes down, right? So this is the need for financial discipline, that why do we need this, right? Now, in order to promote financial discipline in the country, in India, Government of India enacted FRBM Act. It was first enacted in the year 2003. FRBM stands for Fiscal Responsibility and Budget Management Act, and this has undergone subsequent amendments, and the final amendment version is in the latest amendment occurred in the year 2018, right? So with this FRBM Act, government was able to still out some kind of financial discipline in India, but still we didn't see much improvement in the fiscal deficit with government. And what are the reasons for it? We have seen that the fiscal deficit of the government is increasing despite having FRBM Act. Now, what is the reason for it? Or the debt of governments are increasing in general debt is increasing. First thing is heavy subsidy burden. The government has to give heavy subsidy burden, and we all know that such kind of subsidies, what are the subsidies which we give? Say agricultural subsidies, government has to give subsidies in agriculture, for example MSP, fertilizer subsidy, petroleum subsidy, and then we have certain freebie schemes, for example free grain transfer scheme, also under PDS scheme. So there are certain kind of subsidy burden on the government, for which government has to spend a huge amount, for which government has to take borrowing also. Other thing is pensions. There are certain states in the country, in India, who are promoting the rollout of old pension scheme. And if this old pension scheme, if it comes out, it is going to stress out the resources of these states further. And this rollout of old pension scheme, this has also been termed as RBI, as financial indiscipline by these states who are asking for carrying out, who are asking for the rollout of old pension scheme. Other thing is contingent liabilities with the government. Now see, what are contingent liabilities? Now for example, there is a PSU, and if it wants to take loan from any market, government will say that government will give a guarantee on the behalf of this PSU that see, if this PSU is not able to repay this loan, we will repay you this loan. So there is a kind of guarantee by the government, and these guarantees are given by state government as well as central government. Now, government has been recklessly giving out these guarantees. So this has become a kind of contingent liabilities for the government. And these contingent liabilities, earlier they were not accounted, means there was this contingent liability, they are not counted in debt. They are not accounted in debt, and because of which it was easier for the government. They are not counted as debt in government documents, and that's why government has been giving reckless guarantees to these PSUs for taking loan from the market, right? So this is a kind of financial indiscipline, because ultimately these PSUs, they are accumulating loans, and one day these loans have to be paid out. Finally, there is off-budget market borrowing, off-budget borrowing. What does this means? This means that if these PSU, if the government wants to take some loan from the market, but this loan will be reflected in the budget of the in the budget documents of the government. So the government wants to avoid it. Instead, government asks these PSUs to take loan from the market on behalf of the government, such that these loans are not reflected in the documents of the government in that particular year, in one particular financial year. So off-budget borrowing, these are not reflected in the budget documents of government in that particular financial year. But ultimately, these are the accumulation of debt only for the government, which have to be paid ultimately, right? So these are the challenges to fiscal discipline which the government has. Now let's see what are the major provisions of this FRBM Act as amended in the year 2018. The first thing is fiscal deficit target. So as per this act, it set a target of 3% of fiscal deficit. That is, the state government as well as central government, they can just have a fiscal deficit up to 3% of their GDP. That was by the financial year 2021. Though still we can see that the fiscal deficit of government is way more. So this was one of the target. And see, fiscal deficit, it just one means to lower the total debt of the government, right? So if we talk about general debt, so what is general debt? General debt is the total debt which is accumulated by the central government as well as state government. So for that also, this act had a target. This act said that there should be a target that the total general debt of the government, that is the total debt of central government plus state government, this should be 60% of the country's GDP. In this 60%, 40% debt limit for central government and 20% debt limit for all of the states, that is for state governments. So the total general debt of the country should be 60% of India's GDP, right, by the year 2025. And earlier in the initial act, there were certain provisions regarding revenue deficit target. There were certain revenue deficit target and effective revenue deficit target, and this was done away with. So this is not required now as of this latest amendment act. And then the scope of central government debt, that in this, the debt which is the total debt which has been taken by the government, that is the total liabilities of the government on the securities of Consolidated Fund of India and the Public Account of India. In this total debt, this will also include off budget borrowings, right? So this was the addition in order to instill some financial discipline. Off budget borrowing would also be added to this central government debt. And also, as we saw that government earlier used to give reckless guarantees to PSUs, and now there would be a guarantee target that in one financial year government can only give 0.5% of guarantees, 0.5% guarantees only to the amount of 0.5% of its GDP, right? But however, there are some escape clauses also. And what are these escape clauses? That in case these so escape clauses means certain kind of flexibilities which are given to the government, that is the government can breach these targets in case there is a national security, in case there is a war, there is a natural calamity, there is a collapse of agriculture, and among other things, right? In this, there is certain kind of flexibility in this fiscal deficit targets or these targets which is given to the government. And now this was about fiscal discipline, right? And now if we talk about fiscal accountability, now what is fiscal accountability? That we all know that there is an act which talks about fiscal discipline, but what is the authority to which central government or state governments are accountable? Presently, there is not such authority. So N.K. Singh committee, he suggested that there should be a fiscal council. That is, a fiscal council should be created, to which there should be members. There should be one chairman and two members, and this should be a committee, and these members should be independent of government. So this should be an independent body. So N.K. Singh basically said that there should be a creation of fiscal council, which will be an independent body free from the ministers of members of government, and to this body the central government and state government should be accountable to, right, in order to promote fiscal discipline, plus in order to adhere to it, and in order to create fiscal accountability, right? So this is this fiscal council has not been created yet, right? So this was all about this topic. Now with this, let's move on to our prelims discussion. Now the first MCQ for today is inspired by this news article which appeared on page number 1 of Business Line. Now this news article said that the railways is trying to expand the dedicated freight corridors. Now presently, what is the status of freight corridors which we have? So we have two dedicated freight corridors as of now. One is the Western Corridor, which is around 1500 kilometers, and you can see the location of this Western Corridor. It joins the Jawaharlal Nehru Port, which is located in Maharashtra, to Dadri, which is in UP, and the length of which is around 1500 kilometer. And then this is a western corridor, and then there is a eastern corridor which is more than 1800 kilometers in length, and it joins Ludhiana in Punjab to Dankuni, which is in West Bengal, right? So these are dedicated freight corridors. Now what does this mean? Dedicated means, see, there are certain kinds of corridors in which the movement of people plus cargo can happen, right? But in the dedicated corridors, only the movement of cargo or goods will happen. That's why they are known as dedicated corridors. And this is in order to remove congestion and for faster shipment of these goods, right? So we create dedicated corridors for it. Presently, we have 2 dedicated corridors, and there is a plan to create 3 more dedicated corridors. Let's see these in this map, the location of which is given in this map. The first would be East Coast Corridor. We can see this in this red color in this map. This will link Kharagpur in West Bengal to Tenali, which is in Andhra Pradesh. So this will be an east corridor, and this corridor, it targets for the shipment of coal, fertilizer, iron ore, steel, and other commodities, for faster shipment of these commodities. And with this, there is another corridor which is proposed, which is North-South Corridor, and this will be in this corridor, and which will be joining Itarsi, which is in Madhya Pradesh, to Tenali. And this will be passing through certain states, which are Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Telangana, and Andhra Pradesh. And this will handle various goods like coal, cement, fertilizer, petroleum, and lubricants. And there would be another East-West Corridor. This East-West Corridor, which is proposed to connect Andal, which is in West Bengal, to Palghar, which is in Maharashtra. And this will pass through certain states. These are West Bengal, Jharkhand, Odisha, Chhattisgarh, and Maharashtra, right? So this is the proposed corridor, and the total length of this corridor is proposed to be 4,300 kilometers, and they would be created by the cost of rupees 2 lakh crore. Right? So these are the important facts regarding these corridors. With this, let's solve. See this question. In the previous year 2023, we saw a question on this lines only. And now let's solve this practice question, which says that East Corridor of India's, so these are the proposed dedicated freight corridor. East Corridor of India's dedicated freight corridor will connect Itarsi to Tenali. Now we saw in this map that Itarsi to Tenali would be North-South Corridor, not East Corridor. So this is incorrect statement. The second statement says East Corridor targets transporting coal, fertilizer, iron ore, steel, and other commodities. This is the correct statement. The third statement says North-South Corridor will pass through West Bengal, Jharkhand, Odisha, Chhattisgarh, and Maharashtra. This is an incorrect statement, right? As we saw these locations in the map. So only one statement is correct. With this, let's move on to our second MCQ, which is based on this news article, which also appeared on page number 1 of the business line. And this news article say that Reserve Bank of India may issue certain guidelines on small financial banks for their upgradation to universal banks. So small financial banks, generally, they are upgraded to universal banks. Universal banks are normal banks or scheduled commercial banks. So these small financial banks, they can be upgraded to these universal banks. Presently, they are upgraded after 5 years. So there may be certain kind of new guidelines on their upgradation, which the Reserve Bank of India is going to issue, right? So in this news article, let's understand that what are small finance bank. So small finance bank, they are also like other commercial banks only, but of small scale. That is, their minimum capital requirement is small as compared to large scale scheduled commercial bank. Earlier they had a minimum capital requirement of rupees 100 crore. By now recently this has been increased to rupees 200 crores. This is the minimum capital requirement they have, and as their name implies, small financial banks. So they are going to deal with underserved people or underserved regions. So their main aim would be to provide finance, finance or basic banking facilities like saving account or other products like insurance, and this will be provided to people in low income group, particularly for priority sector lending, mostly in agriculture and also to MSMEs, right? And the maximum, and there is a there is a limit that at least 50% of the loan from their portfolio, they should be up to rupees 25 lakh. That is, there should be small loans up to 25 lakh, up to 50% of their portfolios. And let's see some other details about them. The registration and licensing of this small financial bank, they are licensed under the Banking Regulation Act of 1949, and they are registered as public limited companies under the Companies Act of 2013. And is FDI allowed here? Yes, up to 74%. They also accept deposit, and there are no restrictions on deposit. And some other important facts are that they are set up based on the recommendations of Nachiket More committee, right? So these are the important facts regarding this small financial bank. Basically, they are they're going to deal with underserved people or regions with a small financial requirement, right? Now let's solve this question. In the year 2016, we found a question on payment banks. So let's solve this question, which says that small finance bank are registered as public sector companies under the Companies Act 2013. Yeah, this is a correct statement. The minimum capital requirement for a small financial bank is rupees 100 crores. This is incorrect, as now recently this has been increased to rupees 200 crores. And small financial banks can accept only demand deposits and not time deposit. This is also incorrect statement. Payment banks, they can only accept demand deposit, but they cannot accept time deposit. But a small finance bank, they can accept both demand deposit as well as time deposit. So this statement is also incorrect. In this question, only one statement is correct. With this, let's move on to our next MCQ for the day. This is inspired by this news article which appeared on the page number 11 of Indian Express. Now, basically this news article, it talks about the Provisional Government of India, or which we popularly know as Azad Hind Government. Now let's see a few important facts about Azad Hind Government. Now see, Azad Hind Government or the Provisional Government of Free India, it was formed in the year 1943 on October 21, 1943 by Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. And after its formation, he proclaimed himself as the head of the state. That is a provisional government of Free India that was established in Singapore. And then he proclaimed himself as the head of the state of this free government. Apart from it, he held two important portfolios, foreign affairs as well as war portfolios. And then in his provisional governments, there were some important ministries which were some important members, which are A.C. Chatterjee, who was the in charge of finance, S.A. Iyer, who was the Minister of Publicity and Propaganda, Lakshmi Swaminathan, she was the member of Ministry of Women's Affairs. So after the Azad Hind government was proclaimed, it claimed authority over all Indian civilian and military personnel in British South Asian colonies. So basically, earlier British, they had Southeast Asian colonies, but in the World War II, these colonies, they fell into the hands of Japan, and then this Azad Hind government, they proclaimed these territories, and they were basically Burma, Singapore and Malaya. And this government also gave citizens to Indians living in Southeast Asia. And this government, it was recognized by the major Axis powers. In World War II, we had Allied powers as well as Axis powers. So these Axis powers, who were these Axis powers? Germany, Japan. And this government was recognized by Germany, Japan and Italy as well as their satellite states, say China, Thailand, Burma and other countries. And then immediately after the formation of this government, it declared war on Britain and United States. So in this, these are the important facts about Azad Hind government. But before this also, before Azad Hind government, there was another provisional government which was established. This provisional government of India, This was established in Kabul, and it was established 28 years before the establishment of Azad Hind government. So this is a fact which may be lesser known, and this government, this was established in the year 1915 in Kabul. This was established by a group which was known as Indian Independence Committee or Berlin Committee. And this committee, this was formed in Germany in 1914 during World War I, and they have the primary aim to achieve to promote the cause of India's independence. And these are the prominent members which were included in this Berlin Committee. And this Berlin Committee, it established this government, this provisional government in exile, that is in Kabul. And this was under the presidency of Raja Mahendra Pratap. So he is the important person who is associated with it, right? So these are some important facts which you should remember about this. So now let's solve this practice question, which says that the provincial government of Azad Hind was formed by Subhash Chandra Bose in Japan. This is incorrect, as it was formed by him in Singapore. The second statement says the provincial government of India in Kabul was formed under the presidency of Raja Mahendra Pratap. Now this is a correct statement. The third statement says S.A. Iyer and Lakshmi Swaminathan became the members of provisional government of India in Kabul. This is incorrect, as they were the members of Azad Hind government in Singapore. So only one statement is correct. With this, let's move on to our next MCQ, and which is about total solar eclipse. So in some countries of North America, basically in US, Canada and Mexico, today there is an occurrence of total solar eclipse, and total solar eclipse is very rare phenomena. It happens on any particular region. In any particular region, it appears after 400 years. So presently, this total solar eclipse, this is not visible from India, but it is visible from North America, right? So let's understand a few facts about solar eclipse. So we all know that how solar eclipse occur. It occurs when moon, it comes in the straight line between sun and earth, right? So when moon obstructs the light of sun, and these light, they are obstructed by moon and they do not reach earth. In that condition, we say that solar eclipse has occurred. Now this solar eclipse can be of certain types. One kind of it is total solar eclipse. Total solar eclipse means when it occurs in the regions or areas which lies in the umbra region, in this umbra region. Now what is this umbra region? The umbra region, these are the regions in which the light from sun is being completely obstructed by moon. That is, light from sun is completely obstructed by moon, right? So these regions are umbra region, and in these regions, they will witness, people in these regions, they will witness total solar eclipse. And in this case, the entire disk of sun is invisible. Only the corona, that is the outermost layer of solar atmosphere, this corona, only this is visible. Otherwise, entire sun is invisible, as we can see in this image. And then there can be, apart from total solar eclipse, there can be partial solar eclipse. Now what is partial solar eclipse? It can occur in the regions which occur in the penumbra region. Penumbra. So what is penumbra region? In this region, the light from the sun is not completely obstructed, right? It is partially obstructed. So in this region, the sun can appear as partially eclipsed. So sun can appear like this, and certain portions of sun can be are not visible, right? So this is known as partial eclipse. And one necessary condition for eclipse to occur is that eclipse occur on new moon day. So on new moon day, there is a complete alignment in between sun, moon and earth. That is, sun, moon and earth are in complete alignment. They appear in a straight line. Otherwise, this is the precondition for solar eclipse to occur, right? Now with this, let's solve our question, which says that with reference to solar eclipse, consider the following statement. Statement 1, it occurs when sun moves in between moon and earth. This is incorrect. Second statement says that solar eclipse only occur during the new moon, when the moon and sun are aligned on the same side of earth, right? So this is a correct statement, as moon and sun, they are aligned on same side of earth on the new moon's day, and this darker side of moon is visible to earth. So this is a correct statement. So only statement 2 is correct. Now with this, let's move on to the next article. And there is a certain issue which has appeared in Kerala, which regarding to the posting of state human right commissioner. So there is a certain controversy in Kerala. So in this article, the events of this articles are not important, but we will see what is state human right commission from this article. Now, India enacted Prevention of Human Rights Act in the year 1993. With this, we constituted two statutory bodies. One is National Human Rights Commission, which inquires into the violation of human rights at the national level, and then there was a State Human Rights Commission, which inquired into violation of human right in the state level or in the subjects which were mentioned in state list as well as concurrent list. Now for that, we have a statutory body, that is State Human Rights Commission, and it is a multi-member body. It consists of a chairman and 2 members. So who is the chairman? Chairman is a retired Chief Justice of a High Court or a judge of a High Court. Who are these 2 members? These members, they should be serving or retired judge of a High Court or a judge in the state with a minimum of 7 years experience as a district judge. And the other person should be a person having knowledge or practical experience with respect to human rights. So how are these members, the chairpersons and members selected? They are appointed by the governor on the recommendation of a selection committee. And what does this selection committee consist of? It consists of Chief Minister, the Speaker of Legislative Assembly of that particular state, the Home Minister, the State Home Minister of that particular state, and the Leader of Opposition of that particular state in its Legislative Assembly. So these are the members of selection committee. In case there is a Legislative Council in that particular state, then the chairman of that Legislative Council and the Leader of Opposition in that Legislative Council, they should also be included in the selection committee. Now they hold office for a term of 3 years or until they attain the age of 70 years, whichever is earlier, and they are also eligible for reappointment, right? And their salary allowances, other conditions cannot be changed or varied to their disadvantage. And what are the criterion for their removal? They can be removed only by the president. Though they were appointed by the governor, but now they can only be removed by the president and not by governor. And these are the grounds of removal on which they can be removed, right? Now with this, let's solve this question which says that State Human Rights Commission is a statutory body. This is a correct statement. The chairman and members are appointed for a tenure of 5 years or 70 years of age, whichever is earlier. No, this should be 3 years. The chairperson and members are appointed and removed by the governor. This is incorrect because chairperson and members are appointed by governor, but they are removed by the president, right? So only one statement is correct. Now with this, let's move on to our last MCQ for the day, and it is regarding the Baltimore Bridge, which collapsed recently on March 26th. There was the visuals all over social media when a Baltimore Bridge, which is located in a state in US. There is a state called Maryland in US, and in which this bridge of Baltimore Bridge, it was located and it collapsed, right? So in here we will see important locations of some important ports which were in news recently since the last year, right? So as we have seen that UPSC generally asks such kind of questions which are based on geographical locations. Now let's solve this question. There are 4 important ports, first of which is Baltimore. So Baltimore is a port which is located on the, let's see its location. It is located near the Atlantic coast in Maryland, which is a state of US, and this is the location of Baltimore port, right? So it is located in US, Maryland, US, near Atlantic coast. So this is correctly matched. Second port is Sabang port, and Sabang port, this is located in Indonesia. Let's see its location. So this is the location of Sabang port. It is located to the north of Sumatra Island in Indonesia, and see its location. It is located quite near to the Strait of Malacca, and this is also located around, this is the distance of Sabang port with Andaman and Nicobar is around 700 kilometer, and we are particularly interested in development of Sabang port as it will bring us closer to the Strait of Malacca. So this port remains in news occasionally. So this is correctly matched. And then there is a Ismail port. It is located in Israel. No, sorry. Ismail case. Okay. So let's see the location of Ismail. Okay. So this is a Ismail port. This is located in Ukraine. So this was a port which was in news because there were Russian drone strikes in this port. So Ismail, this is a port which is located in Ukraine in the Black Sea, right? So this is an important location. And then there is Ashdod port. Ashdod port is located in Israel. So we can see that Mediterranean Sea, this is the location of Ashdod. It is near Tel Aviv, and it is located in Ashdod. So in this question, only 3 pairs are correctly matched and 1 pair is incorrect, right? So with this, let's end our discussion. If you have any doubts, you can ask us in the comment section. Thank you.